All right, friends and neighbors, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm joined again by my frequent collaborator, Mr. Jason Squire. Jason, how's it going?
I'm fantastic. I don't know how else to say it. I'm doing great.
That's good. And as always, whenever Jason is on the podcast, we have some exciting Royal Fork Buffet updates for everyone. We have to give a shout out and say thank you to Sally Meyer for sending us some actual Royal Fork photos. Circa, I forget, what year did she send it?
I think she said 87.
Something like that.
Pretty sure it was 87.
Late 80s era, anyway. Royal Fork Buffet.
1987.
1987, excellent. Which would have been around the era that we were frequenting that. It was open for quite a while after that. I remember going kind of all through childhood.
Oh, yeah.
But she sent some pretty great photos of, which I think was an anniversary celebration at the Royal Fork Buffet. So there is proof we're not crazy. This was an actual place that existed. It's not something we dreamt up in a fever dream.
I want to give a shout out to the Strong Mustache game.
Oh, yeah.
And hairdo game going on at her family's 40th wedding anniversary party. And the best is her mom has a camcorder that at first glance I thought KIMT was there doing an interview because it has like it looks like the professional like microphone hanging out the end and everything. So that's some good stuff.
Did your mom or dad or anybody ever rock the camcorder? My mom was a camcorder gal and had that. I don't think we ever had the like small cassette that you put in a big cassette. We always had the OG big, put in the full-size VHS.
It was either we were too poor or my parents didn't know how to run it. But since we hung out with the Hannums all the time, Mrs. Hannum had one, so I got to use it second hand.
My mom was big on that. She was big on like the filming everything. So we always had the big camcorder. But that was like a thing in that era too. Like my mom was that lady for our entire extended family. There was always like one person in your family
and
who had a camcorder.
My uncle was the same. So I think mom and dad were just like, well, when we're together, they'll take care of it. Good enough.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for that, Sally. That was pretty awesome to see. It was in that little back room area that you could reserve for stuff, for things like parties and whatever.
And Sally, I don't know which relative it is, but the guy with the cut-off sleeves, strong mustache game, he is my personal hero. So,
1980s look. That was I would like honestly mustaches to come back in a non-ironic way. Because I come from strong mustache stock. My dad has had a mustache since like 1978. And literally, like his senior photos, he's got like a little pretty thin stash. But then it flourished pretty quickly thereafter. And outside of one time when I was super young, he's always had a mustache. And my mustache, I was like the kid who had to start shaving my mustache around 12 years old. Because that's where like all the facial hair sort of centers itself. So if that could come back is just like a not ironic, not funny men's look, I'd be all about it.
I did that at school one day, but some guy at lunch laughed at me when I just had my mustache. And that guy's name was you.
I'm supportive. I'm all for it. But
we were wearing masks, and I didn't tell anybody I was shaving the rest of my face. So it was great to see Luke's reaction when I took my mask off.
It was a surprise.
He actually called the attention of the entire lunchroom to look at my mustache. So
I forgot about that. Man. Anyway, so there's your Royal Fork update. If we can keep this going, just like one new piece to the Royal Fork puzzle every time, that would be great.
I told Luke, if everybody sends us a photo from that, we can do like on TV where they use the computer imaging to like recreate the Royal Fork room if we get enough photos.
Yes, we'll build a 3D rendering of the Royal Fork. So that was awesome. Next, do a little different episode this week. We're going to do kind of our holiday episode, but still do a good news segment up top because I always like to remind myself of positive stuff going on. This week, highlighting an organization. This is a pretty prominent organization, so you may have heard of this one. It's called Project Linus. Are you familiar with this group?
I'm not, but once you talk about it, we'll see. Maybe I am. Maybe I just don't know the name. So
it's Linus, like Linus from the Peanuts comic strip. So their whole thing is providing blankets to children who've maybe struggled, who either with illness, abuse, maybe they've had to go into foster care, whatever, or just any kid who could use the comfort of something as simple and sort of profound as a blanket. Their national headquarters is in Belton, Missouri, but they have chapters in all 50 states. People can contribute and help them out by making blankets and donating them at a local chapter, or by giving cash donations. And since they started in 1995, they have delivered over 8 million blankets to children's in need. So that's a pretty cool organization. Their website is projectlinus.org, but you can find a local chapter in every state. So
it's a cool organization.
Yeah, I like that. Now we're going to talk a little bit. This is coming out the week of Christmas. So talk a little bit about Christmas and the holidays in general. We're not going to do our family time, social, emotional stuff for the next couple weeks because we're going on break for school. That's something I do in school. And not going to do the blog post stuff. So just doing some other kind of random fun things. So Jason and I are going to talk a little bit about the holidays. First, I was going to say, we do primarily Christmas around here. Christmas is sort of the predominant holiday just where we're from, whatever you believe. Even if you're not like a practicing Christian, Christmas is kind of the holiday. Do you have any experience with any other, like Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, any of those sorts of things?
I don't, besides Adam Sandler songs or like Adam Sandler movies, but not personally, so...
I remember when I was growing up in Mason City, we may have had more than one student in our class who was Jewish, but I remember one student specifically who was Jewish, and we would do all of our Christmas sorts of things, and then like she would get a day to we would do like Hanukkah, whatever, cool. And I want to say like her folks came in, or one of her parents came in one time to like present to all of us about Hanukkah. So it was
nice.
That was pretty cool. That's about as deep as I go actually experiencing it, but that was kind of neat to just have that presented to us. And then Kwanzaa, I was in an African American literature class in college. And I remember during this time of year talking about Kwanzaa. And there was an event that I don't even think was at our college. It was at another college that was pretty close. But we were like invited. We were able to go to this Kwanzaa gathering. And I didn't go. And in retrospect, I wish I would have. Like, part of it was I was in this African American literature class. And I'm a white guy. And this Kwanzaa thing, like, I didn't want to feel like I was inviting myself to this event sort of thing. But as I did a little research on Kwanzaa, it does seem like a very inclusive, it's for everyone. Yes, it's connected to African American culture and history and those sorts of things. But it is kind of one of their tenets, it seems, is this all-inclusiveness. So I would have liked to have gone and learned a little bit more about it, but I did not at the time. So that's as close as I got to Kwanzaa as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's cool. I've always found it interesting to see what everybody practices, and I think it's a pretty cool thing to have everybody get to take part in what their beliefs are and everything. But I've never had a chance to be actively involved in anything, but
yeah. So to everyone out there, we're going to talk a lot about some Christmas stuff, but Happy holidays to everyone. Hanukkah, I know, is already over. Hanukkah was pretty early this year. It started like right after Thanksgiving this year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Kwanzaa, I believe, always starts on December 26th. It's always the day after Christmas is when Kwanzaa starts, and that's a week-long deal. So, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. Let's talk a little bit about our Christmas experiences and some of our Christmas favorites. So first, Christmas movies. What are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
I have my Mount Rushmore, and I think we will have bare minimum 2. I think we're going to have 3 of the same.
Okay, probably.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Number 1 for me is Christmas Vacation.
Okay, yep.
That is my all-time favorite. Just love that movie. I prefer the 1966 How the Grinch Stole Christmas. When it comes to a Christmas cartoon, that is my number 1.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of the Jim Carrey movie.
Sure.
The remake that was just a few years ago, I'm okay with, but there's something about that original cartoon that's, 20-some minutes long that is just, I love it.
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Which I figured would be on the list for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one is one that people don't talk about a whole lot, but I know you and I both like it, is the movie Scrooge from 1988
I've got that
with Bill Murray.
Got that written down as well.
Those would be my top 4.
Very good. Yeah, so if I'm going my top 4, my Mount Rushmore, I go back and forth between what is my favorite Christmas movie. I go back and forth between Christmas Vacation and A Christmas Story. And sometimes, anytime I'm picking like a favorite, I kind of go between like, which one do I think is the best versus what would I watch over and over again the most? So if I'm saying my favorite in terms of what I would watch the most, it's Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation is hilarious. I make sure I watch it every year. I think maybe for me the best Christmas movie is A Christmas Story. I love A Christmas Story. It reminds me so much of my family. The dad in that reminds me of my dad so much, just of like cobbling things together and the car never working and the furnace and just working in curse words as some artists work in oil paints. I mean, like that reminds me of my dad so much. Even though that movie's set in an earlier time period, it reminds me so much of my upbringing. And I love the narration and all that stuff. But yeah, Christmas Vacation, definitely. Christmas Story is on there. If we're counting it as a Christmas movie, Die Hard is also on my Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely. I counted it. It's one of those where I hadn't watched Die Hard in years until the last few years, and that kept coming up. I was like, okay, I need to rewatch this movie. Absolutely. I really enjoy it.
In recent years, that's sort of become qualified as a Christmas movie because it's set during Christmas. It's not focused on Christmas, though, so I wouldn't...
Yes.
It's a fringe one, but, like, we do watch it every Christmas.
Yep.
So, Die Hard is great. Home Alone, I love. So, if I got to put just 4 for Christmas... I guess if I got to put 4, I would not put Die Hard on there, because it's... Yeah. To me, it's like a perfect action movie that's set during Christmas.
Only reason why I didn't have A Christmas Story on there was my sister loved that one. So, I mean, I saw it a lot. And since my sister picked it, of course, as the little sibling, it's like... But then when they started to run it like the 24 hours, just because it was on constantly, I really liked the movie, but I just got a little too oversaturated, I think, with it. If that makes sense.
So, Home Alone, I would probably put on my Mount Rushmore too, just because that is a great movie as well. And then, for a 4th one, I got a list of other ones I really like. It's a Wonderful Life. It's kind of cliche to pick, but I really like it. I also am just a sucker for black and white movies. I love black and white movies. Muppets Christmas Carol is another one I think, of all the different renditions of A Christmas Carol, the Muppets version is my favorite.
I'm surprised you didn't have that on there in your top 4 right away, because I know you really like that one.
It might be. Scrooged I have on my list as well. I love Scrooge. If for nothing else, if you've never seen Scrooged, anyone listening to this, you should watch Scrooged. But if you're not going to watch the whole thing, look up on YouTube the final scene from Scrooged, where Bill Murray like realizes the meaning of Christmas and of life and of all that stuff and gives like the big speech in the studio. That's worth watching. Elf, I actually think.
I didn't even think about Elf. That should be on my list as well.
Elf is for the kids and I just watched. You ever watch that show, The Movies That Made Us, on Netflix?
Yep.
There's a holiday version, and Elf is one of them. And when Jon Favreau was going to take it over, like one of his goals was like, we are trying to make a Christmas classic. Mm-hmm. I just always think that's kind of impressive when something that is pretty new, like kind of immediately becomes a classic.
Yep. I can't believe I forgot. I was writing my list real quick because I like Luke to really surprise me when we record. I don't know how I left Elf off of there because that is so good.
That was great. Another one that was really funny when it came out, and I think is sometimes overlooked now, is Bad Santa. Bad Santa is hilarious. Like, it's not super appropriate, or whatever. I mean, it's not like a sit down with the family movie, but it's pretty funny. So, it's on my list. But I'm going to go top 4. I'll go Christmas Vacation, A Christmas Story. I'll go Muppets Christmas Carol. There's 3. And then I suppose I'll go Home Alone. That's one I also make sure I watch every year. Those are kind of the ones that like, yep, I'm definitely going to hit. Have you watched all of these already this year?
We have only watched Home Alone so far.
Okay.
I've got to sneak Christmas Vacation in this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The Grinch I need to get, and I was actually trying to find Scrooged to see. It'll be on regular TV, but I like to watch it where there's no editing out. So
yes.
So I actually was looking today to see if I could find a Blu-ray of it, which I know is old media too. But Blu-rays are cheaper than digital copy, and I'm a tightwad, so
that's fair. No, that's good.
How many have you watched so far?
Well, really, the kids and I together have just watched. We'll do a drive-in movie night, we kind of hang out in the living room, and then Claire will pick a movie, and Mickey will pick a movie. So she picked, what did Claire pick for her Christmas movie? She picked Christmas Vacation. So we watched that the other weekend. And then Mickey's pick was Die Hard. So we watched those. And then we watched Elf the other day. So those are the only ones we've really watched together so far. So I probably got to get in a Christmas Story sometime. I was watching Home Alone with some of my middle school kids. It's a good one. I actually had never sat down and watched It's a Wonderful Life until maybe a year or 2 ago.
And I haven't either. I haven't actually sat down and watched the whole thing.
It was something I'd always seen clips of and was familiar with just in pop culture. Mm-hmm. But the kids and I made a point, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I think we were still in the house in Stacyville. I'm like, let's actually watch It's a Wonderful Life, the black and white version, not the colorized version. And it is great, but it's also kind of funny. The whole him never existing and looking back at his life thing, that's like the last 30 minutes of the movie. Like, from how it was always presented in pop culture, I assume that was the movie. I assume, at the beginning, he kind of makes the wish to not exist or whatever. But it's not. There's, this whole story of his life. Then, the last half hour is what if you removed him from that? Which I actually love that that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. You get this buildup of all of his life first. But
did you watch it on regular television or streaming? Or
I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's still on there. It's on one of the streaming
I didn't realize
services.
There was a colorized version. I've only ever seen the black and white on regular TV.
I just saw that there was on there that there's a colorized version. But I'm always of the opinion that if you can watch the black and white version of something, watch the black and white version.
The parts I'm most familiar with, besides the iconic scene at the end, was in Econ, we watch a video about the Federal Reserve, and they show a clip of it when there's the bank run. So,
yeah, that's a good scene, though.
Yes, it is.
All right, those are favorite Christmas movies. Now, this is one I was excited to talk to you about, because you're a song guy, a music guy, so I'm curious, First of all, do you like Christmas music just in general?
It depends on your definition of Christmas. I do really like Christmas music, but what I enjoy as Christmas music is not your traditional Christmas songs. I like more of your modern takes on Christmas songs, so to speak. So
Sure.
It drives Rachel nuts because, and I like your traditional ones that you'd sing in church or whatever. But I am a sucker for your modern versions. So,
Okay. Well, so what are some of your favorite Christmas songs? Like the versions that you like, the songs you like?
So my 1 and 2, this is forever, will never change.
Okay.
Are Happy Christmas, War is Over by John Lennon.
Sure.
And Yoko Ono.
Yep.
And Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney. Those are my 1, 2.
Good. Classic.
And Rachel gets tired of hearing them because I play them constantly. I'm really surprised on I don't normally do a Christmas letter, but I was just decided to do one this year. Mm-hmm. But I signed it off as Happy Christmas, and I did it in honor of this song. And Rachel didn't, either she caught it and rolled her eyes and let me do it, or she didn't catch it. But those are my top 2. Next would be Christmas in Hollis by Run DMC.
Yep.
Love that song. New ones that I have found, Snowman by Sia. I love that song.
Okay.
It's very good.
I don't even know that, but I actually like Sia. Like anything she does, I'm like, man, she's pretty cool.
And she did a Christmas album a few years ago. I just really like that one. And then we found this last year on Christmas morning after we did presents. We were just scrolling through Christmas songs on YouTube. And the song is called All I Really Want for Christmas. And it is Lil Jon featuring the Kool-Aid Man. So it is great. Mm-hmm. It is, those of you who like Lil Jon, it is appropriate for your kids. Those would be like my favorite that way. Traditional songs, I guess. Oh Holy Night's probably my favorite version.
Okay.
But there's so many good, just, like Sarah McLachlan does a Happy Christmas version. Like I've found so many different versions of some of those favorite songs. Pearl Jam has a Someday at Christmas version. This, you have the Stevie Wonder version and everything. It is. So those would probably be my main ones. But I always enjoy finding that. I did some of the traditional Christmas songs, the Johnny Cash Christmas albums. So that was kind of fun to add some of those. But I have like 6 hours of Christmas music. So
this time of year, do you have Christmas music playing?
I try to as much as possible. It's either, it's like, okay, time to shut off the murder podcast and now listen to Christmas music. So I like true crime podcasts. So.
Very nice.
How about you?
So my list is very different in the sense that I don't particularly care for Christmas music. So I like Christmas. I like the decorations, the lights, all that sorts of things. I guess I'm sort of the opinion I got no problem with Christmas songs, but there's a lot of other music I like a lot better. So if I'm going to be listening to something, it's probably not going to be Christmas music. There are, however, some Christmas songs I like. Perhaps my favorite Christmas song, and I know some people who listen to this listen to these things with their kids and stuff. So if you want to check this song out, don't listen to this song with your kids. But maybe my favorite Christmas song is Merry Effing Christmas by Run the Jewels. I absolutely love Run the Jewels. My favorite current music group. That song is great. I love that. So a lot of songs I like kind of undercut Christmas a little bit, I guess. I love Father Christmas by the Kinks.
Okay.
That song, Father Christmas, give us your money, like that song. I love that song. This is a kind of a nice, sweet song. River by Joni Mitchell. Do you know that song?
Bet it's one, if I've heard it, I would know it.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you, to anyone listening out there, I suggest you listen to all these songs, but Joni Mitchell. If you don't have Joni Mitchell in your life, check out some Joni Mitchell. And River is just this incredible song. She's an amazing songwriter. Christmas in Prison by John Prine.
Nice.
Love that. John Prine, maybe my all-time favorite musician. Love Christmas in Prison. Then, as an aside from that, this is not a Christmas song, but thematically, John Prine's song, Jesus the Missing Years, which is about John Prine basically speculating what Jesus was doing during the times in the Bible that they just say, like, oh, he's this old, then he's 33 or whatever he is.
Nice.
So he's like, nobody knew what he was doing for all that time? So he just makes up this big thing. So that's another one that I like to listen to this time. And then I do like Happy Christmas. I do like War's Over, like all of those. Those are just fine, but I don't seek them out a lot. So the Christmas songs I like are a little different take.
And I'm big on, I'm not going to listen to Christmas music until after Thanksgiving. And then once that few days after Christmas, then it's time to put it in the shelf for a while.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting. Like, there are all of these classic movies, classic songs, and Christmas is just sort of a big holiday time in general, even if you don't really celebrate Christmas. Where it seems to me like, I don't know, like more people should write songs or make movies about different holidays, so it like becomes like, this is the one Easter movie you have to watch every Easter, or you know what I mean, like try to cash in on that a little bit. Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I think we talked about before Thanksgiving. Like we watch that every Thanksgiving because it is centered around Thanksgiving. Like somebody should be trying to bank in, like, I'm going to write the...
There are not enough Arbor Day movies.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Every Arbor Day I pop in this flick. Yeah, that would be perfect. How about Christmas presents? Do you have any from your childhood, or either favorite presents that you've received or maybe favorite presents that you've gotten for somebody where you were like, I nailed that one?
I am pretty sure, I'm trying to think back, I'm pretty sure my sister and I got a Super Nintendo at Christmas.
Nice.
And that was great. I really like that one. Christmas gifts for someone. I mean, it sounds dumb, like I just can't think of like a specific one. But as I've gotten older, especially coaching basketball, like coaching high school basketball, like Christmas break basically is like 4 days, or it turns into that.
Yeah.
So for me, it all turned into just not as much what I gave them, but just watching, especially my kids' reactions to gifts when they got those.
Yeah.
Which that to me was the joy of the holiday season. Oh man, I'm trying to think. I guess I can't think of anything offhand that I've given. I know that sounds really bad, but like usually basketball season too, like I'd buy stuff and I was so busy thinking about basketball things, like it was more, like I said, watching for the reaction, and I got to think back because then it all turns into the blur of basketball again. How about you? I'll do a little thinking while you're...
Well, no, that's the thing. I don't have a ton of like super specific. Some people seem to have that story of like, this was the one thing I wanted at Christmas. I don't ever really remember being that specific. There were certain stuff that I liked. Nerf guns, Legos, that was always great. Action figures when I was a kid. X-Men action figures, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, that sort of thing. My son, Mickey, very much the same. I think he's asked for pretty much Legos his whole life, every Christmas that he could think to ask for something, including this one. So again, even like giving people stuff, I agree. It's nice as a parent now, the reaction your kids have. I love when they open something and they're excited and give you a hug or whatever. It's like, okay, like that feeling of like, I nailed it. Like I got the Lego set he really wanted or whatever, that sort of thing. So yeah, I like that. I don't have like a specific one. I like when my kids are into what I get them. Claire is usually more like art supplies, crafty stuff, those sorts of things.
I did think of, so sorry Rachel, but what what we started to do as a little bit of a tradition was Rachel is not a Taylor Swift fan. So at Christmas, if Taylor Swift had a new album and it hit perfectly, where we had like 3 years in a row where the kids and I would buy her a Taylor Swift album and wrap it up and
Excellent.
and it's kind of shifted now where if it was at her birthday time, we do that. So
Yeah.
that's always my favorite because she just rolls her eyes at me when we do that. But, you know, sometimes you got to be a smart aleck in life too.
Do you like Christmas shopping for other people?
I do. Now that I'm not a head varsity basketball coach, it's a little easier for me to do those things.
Right.
Some of those years, I hate being the stereotypical, like, oh, it's the 2 days before, I got to find something. But legitimately, I didn't have time to try to do that. And the only bad thing with Amazon is there's ways you can hide stuff, but it's really, really hard from what I've heard. So, like, for me, since I never could get anywhere, it was like trying to find something off Amazon or somewhere and get it ordered and hide it. But I do. You know, it's trying to think of clever things for the kids or for my sister or for Rachel or things like that. I do enjoy that.
No, I really enjoy that experience. And I don't have anybody else looking at my Amazon account. So, and I tend to order stuff way early, but then I will also just pick stuff up when I think about it. So sometimes I wind up giving presents that are like, here's a combination of 4 very unrelated things that I found at different times that I thought you would think was cool. I like finding obscure kind of things that I think people will connect with. So I like that. I also like, so again, I've talked about this on the podcast before, I struggle with consumerism a little bit. So I like finding different companies. Well, like we do in the Good News segment of organizations that are a little more eco-friendly or part of their proceeds are going to some charitable thing. I like finding those gifts to give people. And I will say my mom has been pretty awesome the last several years of hitting up companies like that for me and my brothers, who then we feel a little bit better about, because I'm at the age, we don't really care about getting gifts so much. My mom still insists on doing some things. So that's nice, that it's, goes to an organization I can feel good about.
I thought you were going to tell me you were Clark Griswold and you'd be up in the attic and you'd find gifts that you bought from 3 years later.
I have done that.
That happens to us too.
I do that. Yeah. I have a couple hiding places where I put presents where I just will find stuff like, oh, this would be good for a birthday or Christmas or something. And every once in a while, I'll check there, like when a holiday or something's coming up. Every once in a while, I'll forget. And then I will find something. I'm like, well, now my kids have outgrown this. So I got to wait for somebody's birthday party or something, like another cousin or something, because it's like, oh, my kids are too old to really enjoy this at this point. Yeah. Any other? Well, here, let's do this week's episode. Always brought to you by a very important sponsor. And this week's episode is brought to you by that point in life when you realize your family traditions aren't all families' traditions. Do you have anything like that your family would do around the holidays that as you got older and maybe met your wife and started having to go to other Christmases, things like that, and you realize either what we're doing is strange or what you're doing is strange, or just apparently we don't all do the same things?
We would always do the one gift Christmas Eve and then the rest on Christmas Day. So I guess getting used to, once I got married, just how her family did things. But the one thing we joke about, in Lifesavers, I'm calling you out on this.
Ooh.
So that's right. Lifesavers Corporation.
Lost a sponsor.
So, my mom would always get my sister and I the Lifesavers books for Christmas.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There was 1 year my mom did not do it. And I'm talking, my sister and I had them in our teens, maybe early 20s. I don't remember.
Sure.
And we were just it was like on Step Brothers, this is horse crap. I can't believe that you did not do this, Mom. So my mom, every year still, 41 years old, my mom still gets us Lifesavers books. But
if you would have asked me if that still existed, I would have said no.
Yep. But when I'm angry at Lifesavers, and again, You Change Your Ways Lifesavers.
Oh.
They did, it was 2 sides of the book.
Oh, yeah.
But it was multi-packs of, like, the regular, then, like, all cherry, then butter rum, which I wouldn't eat butter rum Lifesavers on purpose any other time of the year. But at Christmas time, I like my butter rum Lifesavers. They have went to just one side, and it's just 5 packs of their traditional Lifesavers. That is garbage. Tradition never graduates. Bring back the original Lifesavers book.
You might be able to get this going. There are so many. We've talked about this before on the podcast, like people bringing back these nostalgic things. I think you could rally people behind this.
It needs to happen. Like, I can get you regular Lifesavers all year round. I don't want those at Christmas time. I want my assorted packs.
That's true. They have like a tropical fruit flavor or something on too.
Yep.
That was not like a tradition for... I would not have remembered this being a thing until you said it. But I do remember that. And I think my favorites were the tropical pack, or they call it. Yeah, like pineapple, like different flavors like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I'll stand behind you on this one. So Lifesavers, clean up your life, all right? That's really what this entire podcast has been building up to. All this other stuff is we just trying to make this point to Lifesavers. We
That's
get
right.
enough listeners, enough people sharing this, we can get this out to Royal Fork and Lifesavers.
That's right.
If one day Jason and I are eating tropical and butter rum Lifesavers in a Royal Fork,
Everything's good.
can die happy men.
Yep. We will open our bowling alley / canoe shop, and things will be good.
Yes. That's funny. Any other Christmas traditions, even if they're not like, oh, I discovered this was weird. Anything like specific that you're like, oh, we always do this?
Nothing I can really think of. Like, we were always pretty low-key on Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when my mom's side of the family would come home, we'd do more Christmas stuff with them. But as we got older, we just do our presents and hang out for a while was about it. But we didn't have any like big like reading of the Christmas story or anything like that.
Sure.
Which Rachel's side of the family did, which I thought was cool. I mean, it was...
Which, as an aside, your dad reading that would be fantastic. I would like to now see a rendition of your dad reading The Night Before Christmas. That would be fantastic. In his one-piece mechanics jumpsuit.
Yes.
Yes.
With his teeth in, hopefully.
Either way. I think maybe half in, half out.
He would be swearing if the pages stuck to him. That would be good.
That's funny. I think I realize, we've talked about this a little bit before actually, but like, for me, all of my realizations around like holiday traditions were just that not everyone had this gigantic family like mine.
Yeah.
So we still do, I guess, a couple of traditions. One, the St. Nick Night thing. So December 6th, St. Nick Night. It's a pretty older European tradition, kind of the original traditions. You put your shoes out and St. Nick would put treats in your shoes. Family has always done that. We still do that. I don't know. I think it's probably because we're not many generations in America on both sides of my family. But, so some of those European traditions sort of still hold. So still, we'll get the old knock at the door and the bag of goodies for my kids, that sort of thing. But St. Nick Night was always a little cool thing. I think I mentioned this before. The girls' Christmas party. Did I talk to you about this before?
Mm-mm.
So my mom, being one of 14 children, she's got 9 brothers and 4 sisters. There's the 5 girls and then my grandma. So when the girls were young, they started doing like their own little Christmas celebration where like they would pick like another night and then the girls would exchange some gifts amongst themselves where they weren't doing it with the 9 rowdy brothers sort of thing. And that tradition held for a long time where my mom and my aunts and my grandmother would get together, and then as we grew up with their families, So the girls' Christmas party was what we called it. But it was like, me and my brothers, and like, there's boys and girls there. Mm-hmm. But the girls' Christmas party, the husbands were not invited. It was my mom and the aunts and grandma and then us kids. But funny to me now, because that's enough people. That's bigger than a lot of people's regular family gatherings. But we would have our families, usually a weekend or two before Christmas, would have the girls' Christmas party. And we would exchange gifts and do that there. So we really got to stretch Christmas out. We'd have the St. Nick night was like a little thing. And then a week or two later, we have the girls' Christmas party, which is a big deal, which I really enjoyed. And I would say if you have a family that big and that many smaller families existing within the larger family, you're always going to be closer to some families than others. We were probably closest to those families, like the sisters' families. We were all closest. Those are the ones the aunts that I hung out with the most, and the cousins definitely that I spent the most time with for the most part. So that was always cool. And then on Christmas Eve, we still do the entire true family gathering, which for forever we've had to rent a building because it's a lot of people. But so then just realizing that like other people don't have like, why are there not 200 people here sort of thing was sort of an adjustment for me. But I think on the flip side, anytime we've brought people into our family, it has to be a kind of a shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just getting together with my family for the holidays. Oh, this is a town.
Yeah. Like, it's probably a lot to take in. And my family tends to be, we're large, gregarious, loud laughing people. So it's probably a lot to take in.
I can imagine.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of the family traditions that I realized were not necessarily normal to everyone. But other than that, any other Christmas things you can think of or want to talk about?
I am a champion of, and sorry, this is controversial, colored Christmas lights, 100%.
Sure. I'm also pro colored Christmas lights. On the tree, on the house, the whole deal.
I don't know if, again, if it's the blue-collar upbringing or what, but to me, Christmas is supposed to be happy and colorful and those things, and white lights just make me think, like, serious and serene. Like, it's just not it's not my cup of tea. I want the obnoxiousness of it.
Yep, I agree. I think the same with just decorating the tree in general. It's lovely if people want to do the all thematic little ornaments and things, but I like the hodgepodge of ornaments throughout my life and my kids' lives, and ours is like a mix of stuff that kids have made, and we got a lot of Yankees ornaments and superhero ornaments and just stuff like that all over it.
That to me is what Christmas is that. So, and again, if you like the traditional just plain white lights and everything, that's cool. It just isn't you drive by my house right now and you will just go like, ugh, that's a lot. That is my other thing, and it is my tradition, is my Christmas lights might not be the first ones up on the block, but they will be the last ones out for the year.
I can vouch for that.
It is, my Christmas lights did not go off until I have coached my last basketball game of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So last year was awesome with the girls making state basketball. That's the latest I've ever shut my Christmas lights off, which was a lot of fun.
It's good, yeah.
So if you ever drive down my street and you're like, why does that guy have his lights on February 18th? It's because I'm still coaching basketball.
Means things are going well. I have gotten less intense with the outside Christmas lights in recent years, mostly because I've been redoing the houses we've lived in. But also, my kids have gotten old enough where they don't care as much. We still do up the inside. We got 2 trees going right now and stuff like that, but the outside decorations are like, we don't care about it so much. So we've gotten a lot smaller with that. I used to be pretty like climb all over the roof
yeah,
and hang lights.
With the star showers and stuff like that, that makes it a lot easier too, where you can just project it up onto your house.
For sure. Well, anyway, that kind of wraps up our Christmas holiday episode. So, a Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever you're doing. Hope you get to spend it with friends and family and all that sort of thing. We will do an episode. We're going to record it actually right after this one. But we'll do kind of a year-end wrap-up New Year's episode right after this. That'll come out the following week right after Christmas. But thanks for everyone tuning in. Remember, you can always send us your Royal Fork pictures, videos, fun memories, anything like that at LukeNielsen.com, Luke Nielsen Media at Gmail, Luke Nielsen Media at all of the socials, all that sort of thing.
Dave, Royal Fork, Merry Christmas.